Cechanowicz?
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
It's tricky.
On effective gamification of participation and data quality in a real-world market research domain. So we have quite a couple of applications here in this context around forecasting or similar uses.
Just got to find me here.
Sure. Excellent. So, take it away.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. So yeah, my name is Jared Cechanowicz. I'm a research assistant at the University of Saskatchewan, and I'm here to tell you about a project. Where is the trigger? Trigger? No. Which button is it? No? Right one. F5. I'll just stand over here. No problem. Okay. So what's something is, sorry everyone. Aha, okay. So yeah, I'm from the University of Saskatchewan. I did this work under Carl Goodwin. And we also did it with a market research company called Untitled out of Saskatoon. And thank you very much, NSERC. Thank you for making me not starve for 6 months. Thank you for the dopamine kicks every payday Friday. In terms of our contribution, we have some evidence to show that gamification does have sort of an additive effect on increasing participation from users, at least in this market research domain. We also are presenting 3 question types, market research question types, that could be adapted for other purposes, but that's what we designed it for. And we also have some evidence that gamification will actually change the user data. And there's a couple of cases where we actually managed to fix that by sort of changing the game elements a little bit. So starting with market research. Market research is a really big area. We focused primarily on the advertisement tracking area of market research, where generally a company like TELUS is coming to a company like Cechanowicz and says, are our ads working? Do people see this and know that that's us? And Cechanowicz tries to figure that out. And they do that by administering surveys, online surveys, lots and lots of online surveys to hundreds and thousands of people. And online surveys are boring. They're tragically, horribly boring. And I can prove this to you. How many people are signed up as a respondent to a market research panel? Oh, more than, OK. 5? 5? OK. You're good for you. That's why I was expecting far less. But they're boring in that, like, the biggest demographic, for them, for Cechanowicz is 55 plus people. It's really hard to get people under 30 to do surveys. And participants have a way of doing a couple surveys and then quitting. And it's very expensive and costly and time-consuming to get participants. So in terms of our goals with gamification, we would love to increase participation. We want people to be willing to do more questions and give us more data. And we'd like them to stick around a little bit longer, too. We don't want them to leave on us after 6 months or a year. And really, we'd be happy with that equal data quality. If gamification didn't disrupt data quality, or if gamification didn't help data quality, that'd be fine, too. We just want it to not hurt data quality. So with these goals in mind, we identified 3 question types that are used in the advertisement tracking world to track ads. And they are as follows. The image identification question type. In this question type, we show them, respondents are shown an ad without any branding. And that is that they're not shown the company. They don't get the logo. They just get the unbranded ad. And then we ask them, can you tell us which company this is? So we're just trying to measure how pervasive this image is within an audience. In terms of slogan matching, respondents are given sort of a stack of slogans. They have to do them one at a time and match them up with some subset of companies. So which company's slogan do you think this is? With a 5-second quiz, we're more interested in figuring out how well an advertisement is written, how well that content is getting across to the respondents. So we show them an ad for 5 seconds. And then we ask them questions about that ad. And this is sort of one big page of questions. So we wanted to test these 3 questions at 3 different levels of gamification. So we tested the standard online survey version, what they would normally put out. Then we took these question types and added just one game mechanic, just one, just to make this task of filling out the questionnaire just a little bit more like a game. And then we tested that partial game version with additional game elements, so points and a timer and correct and incorrect responses and some visual and audio candy and things like that. So first I just want to walk you through the game mechanics, those first game mechanics that we added to the partial game and the full game, just to make the task feel a little bit more like a game. So for the image identification question, we added an image reveal mechanic. So we broke up the image into little pieces and we revealed them over the course of 15 seconds. I'm going to show you a video of these in a minute too. I just kind of want to walk you through them first so you know what to look for. In terms of the slogan matching question, we just are now using the logos, and now respondents get to choose which slogan they start with. So before they had to do them in order, now they just get a little bit more autonomy. And these things sort of slide, you drag them and they slide and pop into place, and they feel a little more satisfying when you're doing it. In terms of the 5-second quiz, all we really changed was, we're still showing them the ad for 5 seconds, and then we asked the questions one at a time, in an increasing order of difficulty as we defined it. So not that much changed really in terms of the 5-second quiz. So yeah, the survey version, this is the partial game version of the slogan matching question, and the full game version you can sort of see it here. And if I switch between them, you can see that there's a couple of little differences, and I'll just show you a video here just to walk you through how the game kind of played. So this is our image reveal game. Can anyone guess which company this is? Shout it out if you know. Scotiabank, right on. Yes, so the image reveal mechanic in place here. When they know the answer, if they don't know, they can click that button, type in the answer, and then based on how much time is left on the clock, they might get a bonus or something like that. If they go over time, they don't get a bonus anymore. This is the slogan matching question, so just dragging and dropping the slogans over to which company this person thinks it is. And then we tell them which ones were correct by sort of turning them a different color, like that. And then with the 5-second quiz, this one is pretty predictable, but maybe I'll just let you see what the transition looks like. We show them the question for 5 seconds, and then each of the questions come up, and they're just little text boxes like that. Okay? So we deployed these 3 levels of gamification for these 3 different question types, and we deployed it to the Insightrix's market research panel. And we deployed it to 644 respondents who actually entered the game, so that's 200 plus per question type, so we're good there. We also, what we thought about doing is sort of measuring intrinsic motivation and getting to do a bunch of questionnaires. What we really wanted was just to measure how many questions they actually were willing to do. So we told them in an introductory email and in a web page just before they got to the game or the survey that they only had to do one question to get their money. So normally these respondents are paid to do surveys. So we say, do one question and you get your money, but if you're having fun, feel free to do as many questions as you like. Okay? We had 36 questions total, 12 of each question type, and we grouped them in blocks by question type. So they had to do all the image identification questions before they moved on to the slogan matching. We did that because we wanted to compare the question types. And then we did a full crossing on those in the way we deployed it. And lo and behold, we found that participants were willing to do, on average, more questions as we increased this level of gamification. So just adding that little thin veneer of gamification actually increased the number of questions they were willing to do. Significant differences all the way across the board. So adding the points and the timer actually helped beyond just making the task a little bit more like a game. We tried to compare the question types, but we found there wasn't really much of a difference between them. We're looking here at whether the game was played first, second, or third, so whether it was in that first, second, or third block. And we really didn't see any difference between them in terms of the average number of questions completed. But when we looked at the question types, so just by the block order in which they were done. So we grouped all the question types together now, and we're just looking at how many they did on average in the first block, how many average they did in the second block, and the third block. We found a significant difference in the first block. You can see the blue bars there. There's definitely more separation. But we didn't find a significant difference between the second or the third blocks. So it's possible maybe the effect of gamification was kind of wearing off as they did the study. Maybe they were sort of getting used to it, or they were getting bored of it, or something like that. Hard to say, but it's a possibility. In our big result here was that we found that increasing gamification had this additive effect on participation. We also we had all the information about our participants. And we didn't find an effect of gender. We didn't find an effect of age. We also didn't find an effect of panelist tenure. And by panelist tenure, I mean like how long were they a panelist within Citrix. So that could be from less than 6 months to over 4 years. And no effect of gaming experience either. So whether they played games or not. So this is good. Gamification seems to help, at least for us in this market research context, regardless of demographic factors. We also found the gamification seemed to have an effect on the participant data that we got. And we found 2 cases where there was sort of a really noticeable difference. One was in the correct response percentage, and another was in the length of the responses. So if we looked at the correct response percentage for the image identification question, we can see that people were getting correct answers significantly more often in the full game than in the other 2 versions. And we realized that this had to do with the feedback we were giving them in the image identification question. So if they got the answer wrong in the full game, we would tell them what the right answer was. We didn't do that in any of the other games, but it just seemed like the right thing to do. Like we didn't want people to be frustrated. We wanted them to, to know that there was a correct answer. And we realized we were sort of training them to identify these companies' ads. So we released a modified version of the full game where we didn't tell them, if they got the answer wrong, we didn't tell them what the correct answer was, but we still gave them the correct feedback and the points, if they got the answer right. So they got some positive reinforcement, but not that if they got it wrong, we would tell them the answer. And that sort of got the numbers back closer to where they were in the other versions. Definitely not as out of whack as in the original full game version where we seem to be training them. Also, if we look at the average response length for the 5-second quiz. So with the 5-second quiz, we were really more interested in, like we were trying to get paragraph long answers out of these people, but that's not really what we got. If we had to sort of look at it in terms of the number of characters that people were giving us. So we were getting short, 2-word answers, 3-word answers, but we did find a significant difference in terms of the length. So we were getting significantly shorter responses out of the full game version. So we thought there could have been a couple of things to do with this. And we deployed another version of the modified full game for the 5-second quiz, and to see if it had something to do with the feedback we were giving them about the responses. But it turned out that didn't really seem to affect things, so probably what's going on here is the timer. The timer is affecting people and making them write less or shorter responses in the full game version than they are in the other 2 versions which don't have the timer. So if we take a step back and look at our goals again, we wanted to increase participation and we wanted to have equal data quality. And did we accomplish this? Well, sort of yes and no. It seems like we were able to increase participation, at least in this one session, for all respondents, regardless of demographic factors. Hard to say what would happen in a longitudinal study if we released this for a year or something like that, if the gains would diminish from gamification. Equal data quality, mostly. It seems that some game mechanics affect data. Some of them can be fixed. And it's also important to mention that once we'd fixed that one in the image identification question, that was sort of the big one. Even though the answers are statistically kind of shorter in the 5-second quiz, they didn't look wrong to the Citrix's data quality people. So that's good news. So yeah, I guess that's my talk. That's what we found.